Welcome to the F1 News Zone, the show where we round up the biggest stories in Formula 1 right now. F1 is officially in its off-season, but there's plenty of stories to keep us going throughout this new year. This week we react to the news that Franco Colapinto has joined Alpine as his official test and reserve driver and explain why this is terrible news for Jack Doohan in 2025. And we also react to the Belgian Grand Prix contract being extended with a catch, and the Cape Town Grand Prix in South Africa launching an official F1 bid and why that track absolutely sucks. All that and a whole lot more is coming up in today's show. Let's dive in. Oh boy, just when Jack Doohan is wanting a nice, quiet, relaxing build up to his first full season as a Formula 1 driver in 2025, in my opinion, devastating announcement has come out from the Alpine Formula 1 team. Devastating in the sense of Doohan's job security. Not obviously for Alpine, this is a good thing for Alpine, I think, in the sense that they have a very, very good test and reserve driver for this season coming up. Because before this, I believe it was the Estonian driver who races in Formula 2, Paul Aron. There we go. He was the Alpine reserve. It was just announced a little bit ago. But now, the test and reserve driver, officially the third driver as it was, has passed on to Franco Colapinto. So I said quite some time ago that Colapinto will be back in Formula 1, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't come back some way through 2025. And this is the golden ticket. This is the big kahuna, as it were. This is the one where it's like, right, it's happening now. So, just to give you guys some backstory on this, obviously Colapinto was the reserve driver for Williams last season, and he came in to replace Logan Sargent midway through the 2024 season. He did a pretty good job, did Colapinto. He scored points, which is something that Sargent couldn't manage in any of his races. Crashed a lot, admittedly, but his raw speed definitely impressed a lot of drivers and a lot of team personnel as well. Red Bull were rumoured to be interested in potentially getting him for a bit, as an RB driver, indirectly replacing Sergio Perez. That never quite came to fruition. And Williams were basically saying, look, we don't mind if we loan him out or if we sell him, potentially, effectively get him out of his contract at Williams, but it's going to cost you a lot. And that rumoured amount was somewhere around $20 million US, which even by Formula 1 team standards is a lot of money, especially when you're talking about Alpine, who are looking to constantly cut every corner they possibly can. Hence why they've been pretty unsuccessful in Formula 1, despite having a huge manufacturer backing them in the form of Renault. Now, Flavio Briatore, this is where he enters the chat. I love Flav, what a guy. This is such a Flavio move, by the way, doing this. Absolutely is. He said on a number of occasions, publicly, that he doesn't mind paying $20 million. Well, his team paying that money. He's not paid it personally. Let's just get that clear. But he said that he didn't mind spending that amount of money on Colapinto to release him out of the contract. Already after Doohan had already signed for next season. Something that I think was probably done immediately after the Monaco Grand Prix, where Esteban Ocon forgot that Pierre Gasly was his teammate and decided to take him out of the race, or try to anyway. Thankfully he failed. But I imagine after Flavio came back into the team in the summer, he was like, man, I don't like this Doohan kid. For whatever reason, it seems as though he doesn't like him. Because he's basically said, and there is also a rumour going around, that Doohan's contract for 2025 is only for 6 races. 5-6 races, some people saying 4. But anyway, a limited number of races, around a quarter of the season, if not less. Now, if that is the case, effectively, that would mean that Alpine don't have to pay off Jack Doohan for the rest of the season if they were to get rid of him. Now, Colapinto is the test and reserve driver. They've spent that much money. You wouldn't spend that amount of money on a guy that you're thinking, I hope he'll be good enough for a Formula 1 race seat, because he's proven himself, in my opinion. He's definitely good enough for an F1 race seat. Not perfect by any means, but hell, he's a rookie. Rookies are going to make mistakes. Rookies are going to crash. So, thinking cynically, you might think that, well, this move was basically, a motivation factor for Doohan. This is so that Flavio, and probably with Pierre Gasly to an extent as well, but his seat is safe. Gasly, if anything, is too big for that team. He's too good for Alpine. But it's definitely a motivation thing, or something to really, light the fire under the rear end of Jack Doohan and be like, look, if you mess up, we got this guy to come in. Because before it was Paul Aron. So Paul Aron is, you might argue he's good enough for F1. He possibly could be, but we don't know. He's someone who just finished 3rd in F2, 4th in F2, something like that. So a good driver, worth a shot for sure. But You know, we know that Colapinto is worth that chance. We've seen what he can do. So for me, this is a terrible blow to Jack Doohan. And I honest to God think that there's a real chance that if Doohan is a decent ways off of Gasly, which, if I'm being honest, is pretty likely. Not because Doohan's not good enough. He is. I think he is, and I think he'll do a good job. But Pierre Gasly is an absolute animal. That guy in that Alpine car towards the end of the season was arguably one of the best drivers on the grid towards the end of the season. You know, he was pulling off miracles in that thing, which is an absolute bag of bolts. We saw that in Las Vegas when his engine blew up from going too fast. They were like, oh, we can't do speeds like this, and it just decided to disintegrate itself. That's not the sign of a healthy engine. That's why they're going for Mercedes power in 2026. Things like that. Imagine having a Formula 1 engine that can't go fast enough to keep up with your speed. That's just so embarrassing. So you can see why they got rid of the engines. But I just find this shocking. One last point as well. I will say that I'm happy for Colapinto, but I really do feel like this is so disrespectful to Jack Doohan. I really do. I'm all for keeping your options open, but this is such a Red Bull move, this is something Red Bull would do. This is something that Flavio used to do all the time at Renault back in the day. Think about Giancarlo Fisichella and Jarno Trulli. The guy used to love doing stuff like that. He loves playing games. He's just one of them people, man. He just is. For you kids that don't know what Flavio was like back in the day, that man is not to be messed with. He's a nasty piece of work. He really is. But he got results. He did get results. Questionable results, but results. Just look at Crashgate. Did a video on that. Very questionable guy. In sporting context for sure. But yeah, one thing I will mention as well, and this is separate, and this isn't something that Flavio would have done. I think this is something that Flavio was brought in to do, but think about all those people who lost their jobs, or at least have lost their positions. They might well get another job somewhere else in Renault, but hundreds of people at Viry-Châtillon in France, their engine factory, they've all been effectively made redundant, but they're going to get new positions because, you know, France has labour laws that have to protect its workers, unlike here in the UK where they just get rid of you and they don't give a crap. But all those people that lost their jobs effectively, or could lose their jobs because of, you know, because of the cost-cutting measures. What Flavio was brought in to do was effectively, some people say sell the team. I think definitely to sell the engine department, get rid of that, manage that transition. That was a cost-saving exercise. Alpine have reportedly paid $20 million, which is about 20 million euros for this. It's a bit like when the UK government said they had no money, and then they ended up spending £1 billion convincing another party to support them. You could probably figure out who I'm talking about with that, and it wasn't that long ago. It's that kind of thing. Oh, we've got no money, we can't save your job, but here's some money, let's get a driver. I don't like this. I really don't. I love Colapinto. I really do. I think he's great. I think he's a real talent for the future. Interviewed him a while back. Nice guy. But this just stinks of Flavio Briatore. It really does. But guys, anyway, maybe I'm being a bit cynical about it all. You know, we'll see what happens. But I'm predicting after race 6, we will have Colapinto in that Alpine alongside Pierre Gasly. You don't pay that amount of money on a maybe, on a whim. You do that because you want to bring him in straight away or as soon as possible. And I think that's what they're going to do. Thoughts in the comments below as always, guys. I'm sure the Argentines love this one, and I can see why, but the Aussies are not going to be happy about this. So we've got some big breaking news here on the F1Chronicle.com. The Cape Town Grand Prix in South Africa is going to submit an official bid to join the Formula 1 race calendar as a street circuit in the near future. This is a story that has just broke to us here on the F1Chronicle.com, guys. So let's dive into this article here, just going over all the details, and I'll give my thoughts on this because a race in Africa and a race in South Africa is something that has been talked about a lot, whether it's going to be Kyalami in South Africa or a race in Rwanda. But Cape Town in South Africa, the capital city of the country, I believe one of the capitals, South Africa's weird, it has like 4 capitals, that is going to submit a bid to join the F1 calendar in the near future. So let's have a look at this, guys. So full article on the F1Chronicle.com. Cape Town Grand Prix SA is preparing to submit its bid to join the South Africa Bid Steering Committee for the return of F1 to the country. This follows the announcement made by the Minister of Sports, Art and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, on the 18th of December last year, regarding South Africa's potential to host an F1 race in the future. CTSA has been the longest standing and most resilient promoter vying to host a F1 street race in the Greenpoint Sport Tourism Precinct in Cape Town, which includes the DHL Stadium as a proposed 5.7 kilometre street circuit. The initiative from Minister Mackenzie has been welcomed by CTGSA, particularly after his remarks in an interview with SABC News on the 19th of December. I believe that's the South African equivalent of the BBC, South African Broadcasting Corporation, where he described the opportunity as wide open for Cape Town promoter to host an F1 race in 2027. So it's not going to happen for a couple of years at least yet. He stated, Formula One allows you to have a street race so that the door cannot be shut for other people. He further added, so if you have a bid from Cape Town, you are welcome because there is a possibility of a street race and it just needs to make sense. CTGSA expressed confidence in its concept, emphasizing that the feasibility and value will be demonstrated during the process. However, concerns were raised about the possibility of other promoters appropriating its original street circuit concept, registering in 2005 and unveiling to the media in 2011 to formulate their own F1 bids. CTGPSA's proposed street circuit concept aims to combine the thrill of F1 with Cape Town's iconic urban and natural landscapes, delivering world-class events as a result. The location, referred to as the African Riviera by the organisation, is set against the dramatic backdrop of the Atlantic seaboard and features panoramic views of world-renowned tourism sites such as Robben Island, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Table Mountain, one of the 7 new wonders of nature, and the V&A waterfront, which attracts up to 25 million visitors annually. The proximity of the track to these sites promises access to world-class shopping, restaurants, accommodations, and entertainment. CTGPSA has built its public and private stakeholder engagements on a deep understanding of motorsport events and planning since 2005. This foundation has led several key milestones, including showcasing the organization's unique intellectual property. These include valuable insights into securing high-level government support, engaging international stakeholders, and managing complex event logistics. In 2017, the Western Cape Government's District of Sports Promotion, Mr. TD Tutu, issued a letter of support for the organization to host the Formula One Grand Prix series on a street circuit in Cape Town. This was followed the following year by an endorsement by the Western Cape Government's Provincial Minister of Cultural Affairs and Sport, Ms. Arnu Murray, for a Formula E Grand Prix to be hosted at the same circuit. Strategic engagement continued in 2019 with key meetings involving the then Executive Mayor of Cape Town, Dan Plateau, and discussions with the City of Cape Town's Major Events Department about necessary municipal infrastructure upgrades. The organisation has also collaborated with the F1 circuit designers and consultants, including renowned expert Herman Tilke. Just what Formula One needs, another street circuit designed by Herman Tilke, because we don't have enough of those, and has garnered support from local and international partners. CTGSA highlights its proprietary knowledge and intellectual capital as key assets that differentiate it from other as in the industry. Since 2011, the organisation has received extensive local and international media coverage, achieving a potential viewership of over 1.3 billion and nearly 300 positive articles. They got 300 positive articles, guys. They're doing well. I'm sure they weren't paid for by anybody. I'm just saying. I hope it's not. I'm just saying it's a possibility. In a letter dated on the 5th of August 2024, addressed to CTGSA CEO, all the letters there, Igshan Amle, Minister Mackenzie acknowledged the organisation's significant efforts. He wrote, "Thank you for your letter dated the 2nd of August 2024, outlining the significant efforts and milestones achieved by Cape Town Grand Prix SA in pursuit of hosting a Formula One Grand Prix in South Africa." I combined South Africa and Cape Town there. South Africa. Cape Town, South Africa. I acknowledge your interest and the strategic importance of this initiative. Please be advised that I have personally taken over this matter, recognizing its national significance. This department will conduct a thorough review and be in contact with you once further input is required. We appreciate and understand your patience as we navigate this process. Rest assured, we are committed to ensuring that all necessary steps are taken to evaluate and support this initiative appropriately. Mackenzie's recognition of CTSA's efforts, alongside the announcement of a formal bidding process under the bid steering committee, has been described as highly encouraging by the organisation. The CEO of this, Igshan Amle, continued having seen 2024 culminate on such a positive and hopeful note after 19 years of stakeholder engagement journeys, this gives us renewed resolve to take the next steps in the formal bidding process with the continued support from our local and international supporters and F1 enthusiasts. We are ready to bring F1 to the streets of South Africa on our spectacularly located circuit in the Greenpoint Sport Tourism Precinct in Cape Town. Right, so yeah, a lot to go over there. There is a lot to go over there. I'm just going to open by saying I want a race in Africa and I want a race in South Africa, and I've said this on numerous occasions. Now, I have heard conflicting reports when it comes to Kyalami, because that is the elephant in the room here. Now, some people say that Kyalami can be upgraded to grade 1. The race organisers are very confident of this. Some South Africans who have commented on my videos are confident of this. However, I've seen conflicting reports. I've spoken to other South Africans who have said that it's never going to happen. The reasons why it's not grade 1 are basically things that they can't upgrade. I've looked at it from the sky on Google Maps, which I know is not the be-all and end-all, but looking to me, it does look like the race is going to struggle to be actually a grade 1 there because of the lack of room to, upgrade it and make the runoffs big enough and have all the safety and stuff like that in there, because that's a paramount thing when it comes to grade 1, because it's basically in the middle of a neighborhood, is Kyalami. It's not too dissimilar to Interlagos over in Brazil. It's just surrounded by a neighborhood. Now, of course, things can happen. These buildings can be demolished. Concessions can be made. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just think the amount of work there, it is going to take a while. Time is not on their side when it comes to this. And, with that opens the door for some other opportunities. I mean, Rwanda is on about joining the F1 calendar. They had the FIA prize-giving gala or whatever it's called there in their capital city, with this year just gone. So, that's probably going to happen. And, someone commented not too long ago saying, why not 2 races in Africa? Why does Africa have to have just 1 race? And I agree. There's no reason why they can't have 2. So let's take Rwanda out of the equation here, because I think regardless of what South Africa does, Rwanda's going to be on the calendar. It's looking certain. Paul Kagame wants it. He'll pay for it. F1's more than happy to take the money. Simple as that. That's how Formula 1 works. Now, when it comes to South Africa, there's a bit to it. I mean, I'm just gonna take another look here at the circuit, because now, if you looked on, I mean, I'll put an image here on the screen. I might as well do. There's 2 different routes here, and I don't know what the 2 different routes are. I'm guessing, looking at it, probably the orange route. I mean, there's a yellow route there as well. I'm going to guess that the orangey-yellow route is the one that Formula 1 would take, maybe. Or maybe F1 would be the red one, which is a bit more open. I can't really tell. It doesn't specify in the article, and nor does it have like a key or whatever in this article. So, sorry, on the image, I should say, really, on the map of it there. So, all I'd say to this is that we don't need more street circuits in F1. We've got enough of them. This is, yeah, okay, it surrounds a stadium. It's going to be exactly like Miami is with the Hard Rock Stadium. That's all this is. And yeah, I mean, look, I'd love to see a race in South Africa. And if it can't happen at Kyalami, then they'd have to build something new. But why can't they just make a good track? Like, I mean, look at this, man. This does not look like a good circuit. I'm happy to eat my words on this one, but come on, guys. This doesn't look good. There's loads of stop-starty chicanes and kinks for roundabouts and stuff, and it just doesn't look very conducive to F1 racing. It does not look like somewhere that's going to be much fun. Maybe that yellow line, actually thinking about it, is the pit lane. I think that's probably what's going on there, actually, looking at it. But I'm just not a fan of this. I'm really not. I don't like the look of this. I want to see a race in Africa. I want to see a race in South Africa. But I want it to be the right race. I don't want to have something that's going to be like, why is this on the calendar? Why are we having to go here again? I just not a fan of this personally. Maybe this won't be the final layout. Maybe they'll change it. Maybe alterations will be made, but we'll see. It's not going to come on the calendar until at least 27 anyway, apparently. And the cars will be different by then. There will be a new, formula of cars, a new set of regulations. So in theory, at least, the cars will be able to overtake better. But still, I don't like the look of that. I really don't personally. But that's my opinion, guys. Let me know yours in the comments below. I'm sure there'll be people who disagree with me on this one, but I look at that racetrack and I think Miami, Sochi. I mean, Baku produces good races, but it's not a good circuit in my opinion. I've spoke about this before. Good tracks can make bad races, and bad tracks can make good races. And Baku for me is a bad track that makes good races. And maybe this will be a bad track that makes good races, but bad track it certainly is in my opinion. If we are replacing Spa in Belgium or Zandvoort in the Netherlands. With this, it is a downgrade. I'm sorry, but it just is. And yes, it'd be great to go back to South Africa for the first time in over 30 years. Of course it would be. I want to see that. I want to, I want the South Africans to have their race. Of course, I think that'd be great for them. It's a very unique country, and I feel like it should be on the F1 calendar. But it will literally have that first race in 27, and it'd be like, yes, we're going back to South Africa. This is great. The Rainbow Nation. Here we go. It'd be fantastic. And then we'd have a rubbish race there probably, and then next year it'd be like, oh, South Africa again. We'll go back to Cape Town. And the key is the money. They hinted on it there. The tens of millions of people that visit there all the time. The African Riviera. That's what this is. It's a money grab. Simple as that. And F1 it's not unique to South Africa. There's loads on the calendar, but it doesn't make it any better. But guys, your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this? Am I wrong on this one? Do you like the look of this track? Do you think that just the novelty of going back to Africa is enough to warrant going to here? I certainly think it's more moral going here than going to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. But again, that's just my opinion. Cadillac Racing are joining Formula 1 in just over a year's time, and a prerequisite for them joining the sport as the 11th team was that they would eventually produce their own power units and supply themselves within the next few years or so after that. Now, Cadillac haven't put a date on this. The rumoured date is 2028, but this has not been confirmed yet. And Cadillac Racing will more than likely have Ferrari engines if it's not already confirmed outright already. I think it's pretty much an open secret at this point at the very minimum, but they will have Ferrari engines in 2026 and 2027 as a result. And to show that they're serious about this, I mean, we knew they were serious about this, but they've made a big appointment when it comes to developing that engine, and the lead person behind that has been announced. It's none other than Russ O'Blends, who I must admit I have never heard of before this, but he seems like a very qualified, experienced person within the Cadillac brand, within General Motors, who are the parent company of Cadillac, and someone who should have great success when doing this. But I'll just read out the press statement here that was sent to us from Cadillac, and shout out as well to my good friend Tom Horrocks as well for forwarding this on to me, bringing this to my attention, because this was released yesterday. There's not really been much of a reaction online. I can't really see that many articles about this, so I'm just going to go and read this press statement out for you guys. I would show you the article, but we don't have one on the f1chronicle.com as I record this. I'm sure we will do soon though, so check the site for that. TWG Motorsports and General Motors today announced the formation of GM Performance Power Units LLC, a new company that will put Cadillac on the path to be a full works team within Formula 1 by the end of the decade. So, now, depending on how you define a decade, because this is a very controversial issue online, some people think the next decade starts in 2030, some people think it starts in 2031. Even see some people saying it's going to be 2029, which I don't understand. But by the end of the decade, to me, means that this will happen in 2029 at the latest. When Kennedy famously said, by the end of the decade, we shall put a man on the moon, he meant 1969, nice, which obviously they did achieve. So that's what that means to me. That means 29 at the latest, if not before. Industry veteran Russ O'Blends has been named CEO of the new venture, which will build powertrains for the Cadillac Formula 1 team that will be on the grid in 2026. With more than 30 years of motor racing engineering experience, O'Blends is currently a director of the GM Motorsports Propulsion and Performance team. O'Blends joins TD Motorsports and GM's roster of innovators, creating a world-class technological base for the new Formula 1 team. We're delighted to welcome Russ to this pivotal role, said Dan Tauris, the CEO of TWG Motorsports. His expertise and leadership will be instrumental as we lay the foundation for Cadillac's Formula 1 journey. Together with the team principal Graham Loudon, they will lead the team in setting new standards on performance and innovations in the sport. O'Blends' career has included powertrain development for championship racing teams and award-winning production vehicles. He also led development of the GM Performance and Racing Center in Pontiac, Michigan, and the commercialization of the brand's E-Crate innovative for performance car builders and EV enthusiasts. Russ brings vast experience from many championship racing series and has outstanding technical expertise, including spearheading our hybrid IMSA Cadillac and Corvette C8 engines that are proven winners, said GM President Mark Royce. In F1, we're going to demonstrate GM's engineering and technology and capabilities on a global stage, and Russ is the right choice to lead the power unit team that will make it happen. Development and testing of the team's Formula 1 prototype engine technology is already underway. Engineering the F1 power unit will leverage and advance GM's expertise in electrification, hybrid technology, sustainable fuels, high efficiency and internal combustion engines, as well as advanced controls and software systems. Plans are in place to open a dedicated factory for Performance Power Units LLC near GM's Charlotte Technical Center in 2026. I believe Charlotte is North Carolina, although I could be wrong. I know it's one of the Carolinas. Either way, you know, in the United States, that's the main thing there. I am truly excited to have the opportunity to build and lead the team that will bring an American-built F1 power unit to the grid, said Oblens. GM PPU is currently ramping up its team and is hiring in all areas of the business. Do you notice the little dig they had there at Ford? American-built F1 power unit, because Ford are going in as partners for Red Bull, but obviously those engines will be built in the UK at Red Bull powertrains. Little dig, little needle there. I like that. As previously announced, the Cadillac Formula 1 team will utilise Ferrari power units until the GM engines are approved for racing use. So there we go. It's there in black and white. Ferrari power units. It's definitely happening. So, and it's also going to happen that, you know, they're going to make their own engines. What are they going to call them? Don't know. We'll have to see. I imagine they'll use another brand within the GM kind of family there. Is Chevrolet within GM? I always get mixed up with my American car companies there in terms of who owns who. But yeah, exciting times. It's positive for sure. I actually found Russ on LinkedIn, believe it or not. Yeah, he's someone who has been a part of General Motors racing for over 30 years. He joined in 93 as an engineer, was that until 2003. This is all according to his LinkedIn. He was a PM as well between 2000 and 2004, and then went on to be manager of GM, AE, MBD and AP, some sort of racing thing, not sure what happened there with that one, and a bunch of other things as well. And he has become the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of GM Performance Power Units LLC as of this year. So congratulations to you, my friend. And yeah, positive signs for GM Cadillac. Good news, everyone. Formula One has announced that it's got a multi-year contract extension signed, sealed and delivered with the Belgian Grand Prix. I was really worried that Spa was going to fall off the Formula One calendar, or it was going to be a part of the dreaded race rotation scheme that Stefano Domenicali has been speaking extensively about recently. But the Belgian Grand Prix is here to stay. Full article on the F1Chronicle.com, guys. Now, this is more like it when it comes to positive news stories on F1. Formula One has agreed a multi-year extension with the Belgian Grand Prix that will see the sport race at the iconic Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in 4 of the next 6 years. Wait, 4 of the next 6 years. Oh, here we go. Race rotation scheme, guys. Let's have a look at this. The extension, which includes Grand Prix in the 2026, 27, 29 and 31 seasons, follows significant investment at the circuit in recent years, including the addition of 2 new grandstands, increasing the capacity up by 10,000 and enhancing the off-track entertainment and fan experience. Last year, the Belgian Grand Prix welcomed 380,000 fans across the race weekend in a gripping 3 days of action, which saw Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton claim his 2nd win of the season and his 5th overall at Spa. Built in 1921, Spa-Francorchamps was one of just 7 circuits to be part of Formula One's initial calendar in 1950 and has hosted 57 Grand Prix since then. The Wallonian circuit is celebrated by fans and drivers alike for its mixture of long straights and its challenging fast corners too, including one of the most famous sections of racetrack in the world as drivers power through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, then onto the Kemmel Straight. Spanning just over 7 kilometers, it's the longest circuit on the F1 calendar and has seen some of the sport's most decorated drivers, including Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, Niki Lauda and Sebastian Vettel, win there. From the current grid, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen have also taken victory at the circuit. This season, the F1 Belgian Grand Prix 2025 will take place between the 25th and 27th of July and will see the return of the F1 Sprint to the track, providing fans with even more great racing and entertainment across all 3 days of the race weekend. And then there's some quotes beneath that from people involved with it, including Stefano Domenicali, which I'm not going to read about because, you know, you could do that on the F1Chronicle.com on that article. Yeah, this is really positive news, but oh my word, the race rotation scheme, guys, it's happening. It's happening. It's not happening as soon as we feared. So basically, there's not going to be a contracted race in 28 or 30 as things stand. So from 2027, after that, it could well be rotated with another race venue. So good news. bad news, bit of both really. It's going to be there for longer, which is good. It's definitely going to be there until the end of 27 because the previous deal was only for up until the end of this season coming up. So it's positive, but it's not quite as positive as I initially thought when I first saw this. Sorry, this is a breaking news story. Like I said, it's just come to us here on the F1Chronicle.com. So that's why I was so excited at first, and I am still excited. It's still good news, but not quite as good as what I was thinking. So yeah, see you soon for some more F1 news here on the F1Chronicle.com. Let us know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Are you happy to see Spa extended for a number of years? Or are you a bit apprehensive like me, seeing that it's not going to be a continuous cycle, that it could well get, you know, a race every other year after 2027? It might well become every single year. You never know. But they're very much open, keeping their options open, really, with that one F1. So we'll see what happens with it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you very soon, guys. Have a good one.